Welcome to the thought process. This is a space where I get to think out loud about life, ideas, and whatever I'm trying to understand in the moment. I don't always have answers here, just honest thoughts as they unfold. I'm so grateful you're here. So, let's dive in. Welcome back. Today we're diving into lesson 10 of 30 before 30. Beginner action, master mind. Now, I want to start by reminding ourselves of something really important. No one begins a master. And today I'm going to share that lesson through the time I had a full-on mental breakdown over a crocheting mishap. And I've learned this lesson over and over again in my 20s, and honestly, my whole life. But it definitely felt louder in my 20s because once you reach adulthood, it just feels like you're supposed to know how to do everything. And if you don't, somehow that means that you're failing. But I think we put way too much pressure on being a master instead of allowing ourselves to stay in the energy of a beginner or truly a learner. Because when you think about it, is accomplishing something really as fun when you've mastered it compared to when you're just starting out and have no expectations other than doing the thing? A perfect example of this in my life has been crocheting. So in June of 2025, one of my good friends suggested we learn how to crochet. Okay? The goal was simple. Limit screen time, do something with our hands, stop doom scrolling while watching TV. I was in. I was like, this is brilliant. Yeah, sounds good. Okay? In my head, I was thinking, okay, like we're thinking a dish towel, like a square, something very simple. And then she sent me the inspiration photo. A crocheted purse, okay? A full-on purse, like a clutch. And I remember thinking, have you lost your mind? We don't even know how to stitch a straight line and you want to make a purse? But instead of shutting down, we laughed and said, okay, sure, like, let's do this. So, like true beginners, we went to our local wool store and confidently told the employee we wanted to make a purse. So, we're in the right place, right? So she asked us if we had a pattern. We absolutely did not. We thought we could just buy supplies and figure it out because, isn't that what you do when you paint? Isn't that what you do with, everything else in life, okay? And she basically was like, she very politely explained, that's not how crocheting works. So she sent us on a mission to go find a pattern. She said, okay, here's a website, find a pattern, come back when you have the pattern, because then that will tell me what weight of yarn you need, the type of yarn, how much you need, the crochet hook size, there's so many different elements. So we left, went next door, got smoothies, half looked at patterns, maybe got distracted by planning our big 30th birthday trip. And eventually, we came back with vibes instead of a plan, okay? So somehow we left with supplies anyways. I think she just felt, because we walked in the store again and we were like, yeah, so we kind of have a pattern, but I think we're going to go with this one, but we're not 100% sure. She's like, oh my God, you know what? I'm just going to give these girls some random beginner stuff, hope that it's what they need, and, send them out of my store. Which, looking back, we still laughed this day because now my friend takes knitting classes at the store that we bought it from. And I'm pretty sure she's taking knitting classes from this poor woman who, bless her soul, is our age and was just like, what are these girls doing? So I'm pretty sure she takes knitting classes from this girl who helped us with our crochet mishap. So, weeks later, after trial and error, YouTube tutorials, and eventually finding a pattern we loved, shout out to Etsy, we finally got serious. And so, we are the two most scatterbrained when it comes to this kind of stuff. We didn't have a pattern, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go find a pattern on Etsy. But then my friend really liked the way that her Pinterest picture had this certain type of yarn. So then we were looking to find where we could buy it. And it ended up being that the only people in Canada that we could like locally source from, because we were trying to like also locally source, was from Montreal. So we got um this beautiful t-shirt and cotton yarn that came from Loose Ends. So shout out to Loose Ends too, because I love you. Okay, you just, oh my god, their yarn is to die for if you're doing certain projects, but it is so fun to work with. Okay, so back on track. So basically, crocheting became my thing, especially during my clarity cleanse, because I decided, that was like at the time where I decided that I wasn't going to be on social media, no TV. I allowed myself to watch YouTube videos because I really wanted to figure out how to crochet. So I watched tutorials, I messed up, I unraveled projects, tried again, and I became obsessed in the best way. Because crocheting ended up becoming a safe place for trial and error until I started my blanket. Now, before this, it was really funny because my friend's mom, she also was in her like crocheting and knitting era. So we had actually gone to her house right after I had, it was like, there was like this weekend in between. So it was like the summer had just started. I decided to like dive into this crochet project. I really want to figure out how to at least chain 20 by myself, because her mom was showing her how to do it. So I was like, okay, before I see her, I want to figure this out so I can at least like do something more than just like learn how to chain. So I did that on my own, and then we met her mom, and then she helped us kind of like again like start learning the basics of crocheting. And so after I basically got so obsessed with this and I taught myself how to chain 20, how to, like do some rows, okay? Then I was like, okay, this purse project, we're just going to put on hold for a bit, and I'm going to dive into a next project because we were just leaving on our trip. And so I drove into another project of creating a blanket. And so I got this really soft material. I found this YouTube video. It seemed so simple. And I started this while we were on our cross-country road trip, right? Because no social media, just me, the dogs, the open road, my partner driving, and this blanket somehow turned into a king-size project because apparently I can't count and don't know dimensions. So it became this project that I was obsessed with, to the point that like, like we're spending hours in the car. Like we drove 20 hours, right? So like he drives, I was driving, and when he was driving, we were listening to an audiobook and I was crocheting away. I had 6 bundles of this like fluffy yarn. Okay? And so I had 6 bundles of it, and I was almost at my second last bundle. And at this point, this was already like a 2-week project that I had started at home and then had taken on the trip with us. So at some point, I realized, this was right after I had attached a new ball of yarn. I had realized that I'd messed up a stitch. So no big deal. Like I've done this before. I just like pull it apart and I'd fix it. Except without me realizing, I accidentally attached the yarn to the beginning of the project instead of the end. So when I got stuck, I was like, why isn't it, if you know crocheting is very simple to pull apart a project. Basically, you just pull the thread and it should unravel very easily. And when it got stuck, I was like, what is happening? Like, why is it stuck? I must have like, my knot must be stuck somewhere. So, my brain, I decided to cut the yarn, okay? And what I didn't realize was that I cut the beginning of my project. I was like, why is it unraveling in this weird way? I ended up unraveling my entire blanket. And when I say that like the front seat was full of yarn, it was just, it was just immense at the amount of yarn that I had unraveled from this project, right? I had taken 4 balls of yarn and I had unraveled it all. Okay? Weeks of work just gone. Gone. I had a full mental breakdown. And honestly, I'm so grateful it happened. I apologize, and my partner knows this. I apologize to him all the time because I'm like, after that, like there's no way that anyone has ever seen me in such a low point of my life. Because in that moment, I thought I was going to die. Like, I am a perfectionist at my core, and that is something that I am continuously trying to work through and trying to get better at trying to understand, how to let go of that part of me, or how to soothe that part of me, that it doesn't feel like, the world's going to end. But I thought that the world was going to end. I thought I was going to die. I thought that, this project, me taking it apart, it was going to be the end, and I was just going to like throw everything out the window, and that was it. But after I'd calmed myself down, after my partner tried to calm me down, after we, I ended up having to get as if it's like some remedy. We ended up getting A&W. We ended up getting A&W breakfast, sitting in the car, just like talking it through. And I realized in that moment how seriously I take myself and how much meaning I attach to getting it right. If it didn't work, I thought something was wrong with me, but nothing was wrong with me. And as I sat there, crying in the passenger seat, like I am talking like hyperventilating, having a mental breakdown, because again, I thought my world was going to end. Like, if you saw how much painstaking work I had put into this blanket, it was like love, tears, everything. Like, I I realized that nothing actually happened. The world didn't end. I wasn't a failure. And that's the beauty of the beginner mindset. You don't care until you make it mean something about who you are. And after that breakdown, I learned that I love crocheting, not because I'm perfect at it, but because I'm curious, because I enjoy figuring it out, because it became something that it was funny. Like, after that moment of like really hitting that low point, you can ask my partner, like I have never been so upset about a project since then. Like, I could since then I have done multiple different purses. Like, I have done small projects, and since then he would watch me take apart a project that I had almost completed, this beautiful purse. Almost completed it. And I didn't like something that I saw at the beginning, or I didn't like one stitch in the middle. I would pull it apart. He would be the one cringing, and I'd be the one so excited to start it over again, because it meant that I was going to get better at it. And I just found that it wasn't about becoming a master, it was about enjoying the process so much more. And that's something that I have taken away from crocheting, and I've tried to apply it to different areas of my life, but I feel like if I haven't hit that point of breaking point, then it's going to be hard for me to apply it to different parts of my life. But the amount of things I've tried in my 20s and taken way too seriously is kind of laughable. Like, another big thing is I watched my brother. I can't remember what age he started snowboarding at. I think he was maybe like 15, 16, and he started snowboarding. No, it had to be younger than that. Anyways, doesn't matter. From the age of 14, probably, he started snowboarding. And I was the opposite. I would like sit in the spa with my mom. We would sit like in the ski chalet. I was like, you know what? I am not a winter sports person. And then all of a sudden, I turned 20, and that's what I wanted to do. Or sorry, 18. So uh, for me, it was not even 2 years. I feel like it was way longer than that. Maybe it was 20 years old. I waited like so long for myself to come around to the point of like being ready to try snowboarding. And if you have ever tried snowboarding, it is something that is hard to learn, but easy to master. Okay, hard to learn. All right. And I thought that I would get to the point where I'd be like my brother going down black diamonds, because he's younger than me. And yeah, I can tell you that never happened in my entire life. And since I've turned, since like 24, I have not. So it's been like 6 years since I have like been snowboarding. But it's funny because you just think that you're going to like jump into this thing being a master, but that's not what it's about. Like, the most fun I had was, yeah, falling, hurting myself, but the part where you got up and tried again, that was my adrenaline rush. And maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me like having that adrenaline rush when I like like the trial and error part, but I have so much fun in that part, in that aspect of learning something. Because I truly feel like your life is meant to be a series of hobbies. Some will go somewhere, some won't, and that's okay. So take a pottery class, paint something bad, learn to crochet or knit, see what happens. Like, because this podcast wouldn't exist if I didn't have a beginner mindset. If I waited it for it to be perfect or to have a million listeners, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be having fun. And the journey is always better than the destination. And this topic came up because yesterday I was at brunch with that same friend who uh we like started crocheting together, and since then I have continued to crochet. She wanted to learn to knit, so she's at this knitting class, and it was funny because she was like, you know what, I just want to keep going and see through it that I actually finish a sock, because she's doing these classes on Sunday. And she said the same thing. She said, you know what, this is so much harder than crocheting. And I was getting so frustrated with myself because, I thought that I was so ahead and I got, the cuff of the sock done. And then I take it to class and she's like, yeah, like you did it well, but like you decided on a style. You did a different stitch in a different spot, so it turned into like a style choice, which is fine. We're just gonna match it for the second sock. And at first she was like, I wanted to cry because, I showed up and I just feel like I'm so behind and everybody else is doing these elaborate projects. But that's the thing, like everyone is in a beginner mindset, but at a different stage. And if you can keep that beginner mindset and have fun with it, you will go places. You will excel even more than you ever expected yourself to be able to excel, because you're in that beginner mindset. And to go back, okay, for the record, the purse turned out beautifully. Okay, I finished it within like less than 24 hours. I think it took me an afternoon of learning how to read the pattern, because shout out to AI, thank God that it could help me decode the pattern and how to read it, because crocheters love their abbreviations and their like different code words for things. And my blanket, it became a calming nightly ritual, which was so funny because that project of me having this blanket to do and, like my friend and I like having this purse, it sparked a little junior granny club with friends who wanted to crochet or knit together, who wanted to have that time like together, but working on separate projects, right? So again, you never know what will come from starting something new. And I think that's the best part. It's just do the hobby, like try something new, because being creative is having fun, or vice versa. Having fun, being creative. Have fun, not having fun. Have fun being creative, because there is no better feeling than the adrenaline rush you get from being creative and having fun and just living in that space of no judgment, because that is something that we as humans need to work through. You're not on this planet to get it right always. You're not on this planet to master everything. Like, go take the dance class, have fun. There's no stress. Like, it's the meaning we give it. That's the only meaning it has, is the one we give it. So again, you never know what will come from starting something new. I'm really grateful you're here. Until next time.